Welcome back, everybody. My name is Lindsay. This is Linda's Investing, and like clockwork, I bring you another guest from my community, one rent at a time. This is Miss Amelia, and she's gracefully making company to me today. I will just let her introduce yourself. Hi, Amelia. How are you?
I'm doing well, Lindsay. Thanks for having me on. So Lindsay and I know each other from the One Rental at a Time. We do the Women's Accountability Group every Wednesday morning. I invest in about an hour outside of Portland, Oregon, and I own currently one duplex that's being rented out on both sides in addition to my primary home.
Yeah, like Amelia said, Michael Stewart had the greatest idea to have a ladies only accountability group inside of school. So she hosts at 8 a.m. on Wednesdays. And it's been a lot of fun getting to know the other ladies from one rent at a time. And it's always fun to just share stories and see what everybody else is doing. And a lot of our conversations actually concentrate around the fact that we're not really doing deals every day, right? Some of the boring stuff is just well, saving for the next deal or, trying to save money on the grocery stores and the things. So how to shop for insurances and how to shop with different lenders. But yeah, Amelia is investing in Oregon. So, Amelia, tell us a little bit about how you fell into real estate. Were your family into real estate, or did you have any? How did you learn about it?
So back in 2020, my husband and I were looking to buy our first house, and we put about three or four offers into that were above asking price for a bunch of homes before we got tired of that. And I work with a lot of contractors. So one of them happened to be an investor too, and he was telling me when I was kind of lamenting about, oh, it's so hard to buy a house. He said, well, maybe you should think about buying a duplex. You can live on one side, rent out the other. You should also check out this YouTube channel called One Rental at a Time. Listen to this guy, Dion Talks Financial Freedom as well, and gave me some books. So I started checking it out and I was sharing it with my husband and I said, you know what, this seems really smart. If we buy a duplex instead of getting a mortgage, then our mortgage is going to be basically the same as our rent. So we saved up. I paid down a bunch of my student loans so that we didn't really have any debt, and then we 3 years later bought our first duplex. And yeah, that's how we got started. Just somebody in the community. I think he's in school, but he's not active. But he just told me about it offhand one day, and I looked into it.
Wow, talking about calling yourself to action because you just swept by like, oh, we saved for 3 years. And I think that's something that people don't hear about often. Like, oh, everybody's thinking like, let's do a deal with no money out of my own pocket. Let's do a deal with somebody else's money. Just leverage, leverage, leverage. But in reality, like as W2 workers, people that work in the regular workforce, um, you don't want to leverage yourself from the get-go, right?
Yeah.
You don't want to use private money. Why? Because private and hard money lending is expensive.
Hmm.
And learning about how do you can use and like, for example, an FHA or a first homes down payment assistance program could be a powerful move, especially like you said, house hacking. For a lot of people that don't know, what does house hacking mean, Amelia?
So house hacking, the way that we did it is the duplex that we had, we lived in one side and rented out the other. So, ideally in a different state, maybe you could have somebody pay your mortgage and you save what you would be paying towards your mortgage. For us, we live in a little bit more of an expensive market. So they were paying a little more than half of our mortgage. So instead of paying a giant mortgage, we're only paying half of it. Yeah, or you could also house hack by, if you have a house, renting out some of the rooms. That's another way to do it as well.
Mhm. And did you take advantage of the FHA or low down payment?
Yeah, so we did 5% down, but we chose to go with an FHA loan. And yeah, that way we would have reserves too, because we were very nervous about, oh my gosh, it's our first big property. We have to pay this big mortgage. What if we don't have renters? What if they move out? That kind of thing. So we made sure that we had I think it was $10,000 in reserves. We bought the house. It was listed for 535, and we wrote a disrespectful offer, like Zuber says, of 500,000. And they countered with us. There was other offers, but I think some of them were out of state, and we were willing to. It was a woman that she was living in one side, had renovated it, and she was renting out the other side to her son, and she wanted to let her son stay for below market rate rents for a couple months, and we said that was totally fine. Where other people said that they didn't want to do that. So we ended up buying it for $527,000.
Mhm, mhm. In Oregon, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Wow. Okay. So from the get-go, you had a renter already.
Yeah, from the get-go we had a renter, and he was totally fine. It was cool too that she had renovated one half of the building because it was ready to go. So we moved into the half that wasn't renovated, and we were living in a construction zone for about 6 months. We There was popcorn ceiling from the 80s that we scraped. I was so gung-ho about it before we bought the property. I was looking at YouTube videos, and I'm not very handy, but my husband is. And so I thought, oh, I can do the ceilings, no problem. It's actually a lot of work. I would 100% next time pay somebody to do it, because it was, but we got it done. New floors, new paint, took out all the kitchen cabinets, replaced it, new appliances, what else? New toilets, new vanities in the bathroom. So a lot of cosmetic stuff that we upgraded.
Mhm, mhm. A lot of sweat equity went into that house.
Yeah, definitely.
And I know you mentioned that you and your husband both did the work, but how did you save for this deal?
So to save for this deal, the after I started learning more about financial freedom and that kind of thing, the first year after we failed at buying a house in 2020, I just focused all my income on paying down my student loans. Um, and then after that, we lived off of my husband's income, and we saved all of my income so that one, his W-2 is direct deposited into our checking account. My W-2 is direct deposited into our savings, and we didn't touch that.
Okay. So once you learn how to, was it budgeting a problem for you, or was it like very easy to do since you were already paying your student loans?
I think, budgeting for me initially out of college was a little bit hard because so my mom, I looked at when I did my FAFSA loans for college, I realized that, oh, the salary that I'm making is twice as much as what my mom makes. So I'm like rich, that's what I thought. And so every month I would spend all of my money and actually end up putting some of it onto credit cards. And I'd wonder, like, where's all my money going? What's going on? Um, so my husband actually sat me down, and he was like, hey, we can go out to eat every every weekend. We can do all these fun things all the time, but at the end of the day, like, I see a future with you. I want to buy a house with you, and so you have to change your habits.
Or saving, you were with your husband wanted to buy a house, so you changed your saving habits per se.
Yes, I changed my saving habits. I changed my spending habits, and I wrote down a budget. I started to stick to it. And then after we got married, we just combined our finances, which made everything a little bit easier, because it's just like, okay, this is what we have to live off of. This is what we're saving.
Hmm. So when your husband, said, I wanted to buy a house, let's go buy a house, and you came up with the duplex idea, was he right on board or was he tough to like convince, I guess?
Well, I started with just like, hey, I read this book. Let's watch this YouTube video tonight instead of our show. And so I just kind of let like Michael Zuber and Dion Talks convince him, because they can speak better about it than me. And then he was actually like, yeah, buying a duplex, this might be something that we should do. I was like, yeah, maybe
Mhm.
it is.
Well, you just follow the experts and you're like, oh, let's go, let's do it.
Yeah.
Awesome. Is your market a market where you have a lot of multifamily?
No. There is some, but like for example, in the town that I live in right now, active multifamily, there's one property. Um, the closer that you get to Portland proper, there's a little bit more, but I mean, the pricing is crazy expensive. Like, they're building new ones,
Mhm.
but they're $800,000. And in some areas, you can buy a house for 400,000. So it's like, well, why didn't I just buy a house instead of buying this expensive duplex?
Mhm. Mhm. Yeah,
Yeah.
makes sense. So, okay, you bought the duplex with 5% down, and now you're moved out of the duplex,
Hmm.
right?
Yeah.
Your primary residence. How is it going from living in a duplex to moving into primary residence and paying the mortgage just by yourself?
It's a pretty big chunk of change. We were really stressing about it when we did it. We had buyer's regret instantly. We're like, oh my gosh, what were we doing? We should have bought another duplex, or we should have waited. But we have enough. It's less than 30% of our income, and we can afford it. But yeah, it's double what we were paying for our half of the mortgage for the duplex.
How long were you in the duplex?
1 year.
1 year. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, you can get used to the cash flow coming in every month.
Yeah, yeah, definitely. Um, yeah, the cash flow for out here is not um a lot. So for the 5% that down that we put, which was $26,000, we're getting about $300 worth of cash flow. And if we put 20% down, which would be more like 100,000, we would be cash flowing closer to 1,000, but we'd have to save up to 100,000. So we're looking at out of state investing.
Yeah, we've been talking about during the accountability calls that that's a new route that you're taking, and I totally understand investing in Oregon for appreciation because I'm
Mhm.
sure when you bought your duplex, like you said, they're selling them for 800K now, but you
Yeah.
bought it for 500, right? Like the appreciation in that short amount of time, it's really appealing.
Yes.
You're
Yeah.
like trying to look at properties, but also me being an investor that invests for cash flow, you also have need income, right? If the goal is to, retire, work less or something, you need income that comes every month. And I guess that's like what is your goal with this real estate investing?
I think the goal for us is to be able to retire in 10 years, or not even to be able to retire, just to be able to work in a field that just to be able to be free. And if I think my husband and I, when we were doing the duplex together, like renovating it, we had a lot of fun doing it, aside from working, 40 to
Scraping
50 hours on
popcorn
site.
ceilings.
Yeah, aside from how yeah, tiring it was. And if it was the only thing that we were doing, I think it would actually be a lot of fun to just put some music in and just work. So I think doing that together in the next 10 years would be the goal. And then to be able to quit our W-2s.
Yeah. So it may be a fix and flip business coming up to Oregon.
Yes. Yes.
That'd be cool. Yeah, I shared a little bit of Timmy's story. My first primary residence, which is this one, that had the same problems. It had carpet everywhere, almost on the walls, and
Mm.
basically popcorn ceilings everywhere. But I did not know how to remove popcorn ceiling, so I did not tackle that. But carpet, pull it out, lay down some flooring, like I did that, but not the popcorn ceilings. But yes, no, I really enjoy that too because I feel like when that happened, I don't know when that was for you, but it was the pandemic, so we had to stay in a lot of the time, and then so that's what I did, picked up things from Home Depot and then came back and tried to work in the house, and That's all my spare time. But yeah.
Yeah, there's something really rewarding about I don't know, like doing stuff with your hands and seeing the immediate results.
There is. And then there's like some philosophy saying that we used to be, you know, what cavemen. We used to
Hmm.
be gatherers, right? We used to do things with our hands. And the reason, some people say, the reason why we have depression and anxiety now is because we have no reward of the things that we do. We sit in a desk and then we work, and unless you have some kind of strenuous labor like construction or something, then you don't really put any exercise or any body effort per se. And you need that. You need that release. That's why exercise is so important, right? But
Yeah.
but we're getting off topic now. But yes. So what do you think you learn about yourself during this journey so far?
I think that I found a lot of confidence in that I'm actually a lot more capable than I thought. I think I had a lot of fixed beliefs about myself, like, oh, I'm just not handy, I can't do stuff like that. And then when we started working on our house, I was like, oh no, I can learn how to do this. And I also think I used to be so scared. I don't know why. I'm great at my job. I don't make any waves. I'm a super people pleaser. I do what I'm told. But I was so scared of losing my job for a long time. And now that I see kind of like, oh, I could be retired in like 10 years. I could be retired in 15 years. Um, I'm not scared anymore. I go to work and I'm like, if I lose this other job or if I lose this job, I can get another job because I'm a capable person. I can do it.
Amazing, awesome. So I give you the confidence, so to become like this big person with options, because that's the beauty, right? Like now that you have this duplex, you do have income coming in, and then you are
Yeah.
working towards, another house and hopefully more cash flow too. But yeah, there's another path than just like grinding at whatever at your job that you're doing. Then awesome.
Yeah.
I know you told me that you found through a friend, a contractor friend, that somebody in the OR community, but how did how do you like the community that we have right now?
I love it. I think that for a long time, when I bought the duplex, I wasn't really looking at the numbers. Me and my husband were just excited to buy a property, so we just kind of did it, and it ended up cash flowing. Thank goodness we didn't buy an alligator. And then after we bought this house, we're really thinking about our next move because the appreciation out here is great, but I think we need some cash flow, and I didn't really know how to do it. And then I joined the school community and I just listened to the other ladies talk during our accountability group. I joined and listened to some of the out of state investing calls on your channel. And I was starting to kind of piece together, okay, well, if I can't do it here, maybe I can do it out of state. And my husband had brought it up to me before and I shut it down because I was scared. I didn't know I didn't know the process. I was really holding on to the idea of, well, if something goes wrong with our duplex, we can just go over there and fix it really quick. Like I wasn't trusting the process. But after hearing yourself and other people in the community doing it successfully and relying on their property managers and their contractors, I see a path and the method to do it. It's like, okay, if I get some really good handyman and contractors and I have a property management company that's going to be able to take care of my rentals. And Lindsay's been doing it successfully. Vincent's been doing it successfully. I can do it too. I just have to follow what they're doing. And if something goes wrong, I have a community of people that I can turn to and ask.
Yeah, yeah. It is pretty exciting because in the community we have people that are doing all kinds of different things, and people self-manage, people have property managers, people that do Airbnbs, their co-host arbitrage and all the things. And it's it's easy to get overwhelmed too with all of this information and all of those resources and all of the referrals. But also, like, you have to remember that everything that's good for somebody else does not mean that it's going to be good for you, right? One of the things that I learned, I was like, you need to know yourself. Like, for example, me, I have a W-2, demanding W-2, and a side hustle. And then I'm doing real estate. So I know from the get-go, I'm not going to have time to be self-managing. And I'm not investing in my area, so it's not going to be conducive for me to self-manage because I'm not, like you say, I'm not there. But then there's people that are very adamant about you need to self-manage. That's the only way to go. You know, you're leaving money on the table. But Michael Stewart himself has like 200 properties. He's retiring. He doesn't self-manage because he doesn't have to. He just finds deals that will work with the property manager. And that's why I concentrated myself on. And you know, you may decide to self-manage and that's okay. And or get a property manager and that will be okay too. It's just what works for you. And I think that's what I get from like every accountability group. You know, take just the little pearls that you want to pick up from everybody else and then just go make your dream happen, right?
Yeah, yeah, definitely. And you can listen to everybody talk, and that's great. And you can get all this information, but at the end of the day, you're not going to know until you do it. So just take that step. Don't get stuck in analysis paralysis.
Yeah, yeah, for sure. And then one of the biggest advice I've been given is just find somebody else. If you're looking at a market, find somebody else that's doing it there successfully already. Because those people are gonna be your anchors. Hopefully they're helpful, no, but they're willing to talk to you. But if they're not willing, then you make them, you know. I'll take you to lunch or whatever your time, or I'll pay you money. Why not?
Yeah,
Just skip the mistakes that you don't want to make. That's gonna cost you money, right? In the end, it's gonna be all worth it.
yeah, definitely. I feel like that's what I've been doing a lot in this journey is just I've been copying and pasting what other people have already done and kind of making it my own, but looking at, the trailblazers and what they've done.
Hmm. Hmm. Well, I'm excited to have you and come back to my channel too with other stories. But just for my, I guess, guilty pleasure, can you tell us anything about your tenants that's driven you crazy since you do manage?
I can't say anything bad about my tenants because they, knock on wood. And again, we've only been doing this since 2023, but the first tenant that we had was the son, and he had a move out date, and he moved out when he was supposed to. And then immediately after, we had this couple with some dogs move in, and they live right next to us, and just paid us and never really talked to us very much at all. And then after we moved out, we had another couple with a dog and a cat move in, and um, yeah, they pay us every month. They haven't needed anything so far, and we just had one of our friends go and clean the gutters of the property, and he said everything looked great. So knock on wood, nothing has happened yet.
Amazing. That's good. Well, not good for my channel, but I was hoping some like, oh my God, something crazy. You know, there's always like girlfriend coming, knocking on the door, neighbors
Yeah.
complaining or something like that. But you must live in a residential area.
Yeah, yeah, we live in a town of 25,000. It's a pretty big town, but it feels like it thinks it's a small town. And then also the requirements that we have for our tenants, just because this is, our first one, and for, I mean, last year it was our home, so we made sure like our requirements were 700 credit score, three times the income. Yeah.
Awesome. Awesome. Good. So out of state, and is it going to be a long-term rental as well?
I think so. We're looking at two different markets right now, and yeah, yeah, they're going to be long-term rentals for sure.
Okay. Okay. Amazing. Okay, well, Amelia, it was such a pleasure having you on my channel. I hope that you come back.
Yeah, thank you for having me on, Lindsay.
Thank you. I will see you. And I'll see everybody. Please like and subscribe.